Your uni, your team. From kick-off to the final whistle. This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Hello and welcome to Shock Sport. This week it's with me again, Adam Skinn. Hello. Unfortunately, Jodie couldn't make it this week, so the super sub is back like a prime John Duran. This week we'll be talking Premier League, all things Manchester City and United. Looking back at their games, looking forward to what's coming up. We've got the WSL, some interesting things coming up on that. We'll take a dive into Championship football, having a look at game week 11 and a cheeky look at the table as well. Also going to dive into our local Salford City, see how they've got on in their most recent EFL League 2 fixture. And we'll have a generic sports roundup, just discussing all things sport. And even a little dive into the Commonwealth Games. How exciting all that to come up on Shock Sport today.
Your uni, your team. This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Hello and welcome to Shock Sport on this Wednesday evening. It's just gone 6:05 and I'm going to welcome my two lovely guests to the studio. We've got Liam and Rachel. Evening everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourselves, teams you support, sports you enjoy?
Yeah, I'm Rachel Conway. I am a Borough season ticket holder. I went to the match this weekend, actually. First one I've been able to get back to. And my main sport's netball, but primarily interested in football. Yeah.
And I'm Liam Dolan. I'm a Liverpool fan, which a lot of people don't like. But I'm a Liverpool women's season ticket holder, and I went last week. Unfortunately, we drew 1-1 to Crystal Palace, which wasn't great, but yeah.
Well, at least one of the Palace teams can get a result. And I'm Adam Skinn, a loud and proud Ipswich Town fan, and I'm really enjoying life in the Premier League. No, I'm not. Can't wait for it to get back to the Championship, to be fair, but we're going to take a look at the Premier League teams in the city of Manchester to start us off with. I'm going to start with Man City, the blue side. They took on Wolves this weekend, and scraped a 2-1 win, it has to be said. Goals from Guardiola, a bit of a screamer, and then a very late winner there from John Stones. Some arguing it's quite a controversial goal, with the offside not being given against Bernardo Silva. But what were your guys' thoughts on Man City this weekend?
As always, they're always a great team, aren't they? They're always going to scrape that win. Especially with John Stones now, he's known for his late winners now. He's scored 2 now this season, is it? Because obviously he scored that equaliser against Arsenal, didn't he? So it was kind of expected with how City play.
It was a game where City dominated the ball so much. It was one of those games where it was all City, and it was weird to see that Wolves went 1-0 up. It was a quick break, and it was a quick goal, and it was like, oh, Wolves have scored. Wolves have turned up. And it was enjoyable to watch from a neutral's perspective, because it was just all City peppering the Wolves' end, yet there was still a game on. And it was brilliant watch, and it just felt like the game flew by whilst watching it, and that's how you know you're watching an enjoyable game. But big Joseph Guardiola with a... what has to be said? A bit of a screamer, opposite of Pep ball, but wraps one from the edge of the area into the top corner, and John Stones with the winner. Now, obviously, there was some controversy around this, with Bernardo Silva in an offside position. People are saying he's impeded the goalkeeper, but what were your guys' thoughts on that incident?
Well, I think with anything, when I see these decisions go in the favour of bigger teams, I think if it was a lesser team, would we be talking about this? Would we be saying that the decision would have gone their way? Or are we talking about this because it's Man City and it's gone their way? That's my thoughts.
It's an interesting thought. What about you, Liam?
I mean, to be fair, VAR should have probably clocked it. I can't lie.
The big thing that I thought whilst watching it was it was originally given as a goal on field, and then VAR said, we're going to have a look at this. Pulled the referee over to the screen, and that normally means, decision's changing here. And then the referee stuck with his original decision. And one of my favourite bits was when Jack Grealish goes running over to the referee and goes, "It was Bernardo Silva. He's about that tall. He's not going to impede anybody." And I was like, that's quite funny. But in my opinion, watching the game as a neutral, I thought the goal probably should have stood. It would have been really harsh if it were to be chalked off for an offside offence. I don't really feel like he was impeding the keeper an awful lot. But, again, if I was a Wolves fan, I'd be screaming for it. So I can see both ways. It was kind of 6 one way, half a dozen the other. And it was unfortunate for Wolves because they have found themselves in quite a difficult position early on in the league. Currently sitting rock bottom, 1 point after 8 matches played. It's not where I expected to see them, is it?
No, you kind of expect them to... Well, you don't expect them to be like climbing to the top of the league every season, but you expect them to be like mid-table at least, because they are actually a decent side. But you definitely don't expect them to be dead last.
Yeah, they sit on 1 point level with Southampton. Crystal Palace just above them on 3 points, and then the mighty Ipswich Town just outside relegation on 4 points. It's 4 teams yet to register a win in the Premier League, 8 games in, which is unheard of. And it does just show the standard of the teams currently. Liverpool currently sit top of the table, 21 points. City just behind on 20. They look to be our breakaway pair this season. Arsenal back on 17 points in third place. Looking like they're showing early signs of struggling. All right, we'll move to the other side of Manchester now. We'll go to the red side. This is your favourite, isn't it, Liam?
Yeah.
So we've got Brentford 1, Manchester United 2. Goals for both Garnacho and Højlund. What's everyone's thoughts on that result?
I think it's relieving a bit of pressure on Ten Hag. I think coming into the game, they were in like 14th, so they really, really needed the win. But anything less than a win would have been very bad news for Ten Hag.
Definitely so. We had a discussion a couple of weeks ago. I had a couple of United fans on the show, and they raised the point that they backed Ten Hag in the summer, and they offered him a new contract, and if they were to sack him now, it would cost them £17 million.
Wow.
To get rid of him. And in this era of FFP, it's not money that United will be spending, especially with their really friendly owners that they've got. But yeah, it does relieve a lot of pressure. I said it's not just on Ten Hag, but it's on all the backroom staff at the club, all the players as well, because you think if there's all that pressure and scrutiny on everything that's going on, it's going to start affecting players' mindsets going into games, isn't it? But they looked the better team in this game.
I agree.
You know, it registered 23 shots to Brentford's 8. I mean, possession was basically even. But Manchester United were doing more with it, and it's good to see them playing a more positive style of football, whereas earlier this season they've not been looking that good going forward. They go on to play Fenerbahce away in the Europa League tomorrow, and then travel to West Ham at the weekend in the Premier League, which is it's a difficult place to go. West Ham away, I've learned that one recently. But I reckon West Ham could give them a game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think West Ham are always that surprise team, aren't they? They don't seem like they're good on paper, but they do have quite a lot of good players in the team. Like Jared Bowen's obviously been called up to England a couple of times. There's I'm trying to think who else is in West Ham. James Ward-Prowse plays for them now.
Yeah, Ward-Prowse. It was a brilliant signing.
Ward-Prowse, he's had a few games for England. I'm blanking on West Ham players now, but they are actually a decent team, and they're always like they're not the best of the best, but obviously David Moyes took them to that Conference League win 2 years ago, so they're still fighting for their like time in the Premier League, and they are that like surprise team that you never expect to do well, but somehow pull out a like random result here or there, and I feel like they could actually. One of the random results could be against United with how they're playing this season. Exactly.
I think a lot of teams are looking forward to playing Manchester United this season because they have been so unpredictable. And going away to West Ham as well, West Ham, they've had good home form this season, and they've started the season slowly. And the word relegation was getting bandied about, but they've recovered well up to 15th now, and they've drawn one, won one, and lost one in the last 3. So the Holy Trinity has been completed. But anybody's guess in that game, and I think it'll be more difficult than people expect. Manchester City coming up. They've got Sparta Prague next in the Champions League. That kicks off tonight. In the brand new Champions League format, which is a mouthful. Which Aston Villa currently sit top of. I mean, great for English football, that, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
And our head of sport, Jodie Keane, will be over the moon with that one, I'm sure. I'm surprised she hasn't put any little notes in my script tonight. And next in the Premier League, Southampton make their way to the Etihad, which is a bit of a baptism of fire for Southampton, isn't it? They're struggling, looking to register any points at all on the in the table. They're on 1 point currently, which was earned in a draw at home to Ipswich Town. Painful, that. And yeah, it doesn't get much easier for them, does it? But anyhow, we'll come back and we'll talk a bit about the WSL after a bit of MGMT. And kids on Shock Sport, just gone 8:15. Nope, 6.
This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Indeed it is. It's 6:21, not 8. I got it right that time. And it's the Shock Radio Sports Show this week with me, Adam Skinn, sitting in for Jodie Keane because I don't even know why. I'm just here again. Anyways, we're going to move on to the WSL now. And we're going to have a look at the 2 Manchester teams again, starting with the red side of the city this time. Looking at Man United taking on Brighton, and it was a 1-1 draw. Another Grace Clinton goal sees, oh God, I can't read this script. And Lionesses Nikita Paris scored again for the Seagulls. So 1-1 draw. What was everyone's thoughts on that for the United side?
I was kind of shocked. United were, I think, they're one of the only teams to win every game and not concede. So when they finally drew out of everyone, I didn't actually expect it to be Brighton. But obviously Brighton have got a lot of good players now. They brought in Nikita Paris over the summer from United, and Frank Kirby from Chelsea. So they are like I said earlier about West Ham, they're one of those surprise teams. You never know, they will pull a result out of nowhere. So it was a shocker, but then again, you can kind of see it at the same time with all the talent they've got.
Yeah, 100%. Man United have made a flying start in the WSL this season. Both Manchester teams in the top 3 currently. Chelsea had made the perfect start. Man United had before the last game week. It was incredible, the run that they were on. Winning 3, not conceding anything. But yeah, stopped in their track by Brighton and Hove Albion. The other side of the city, Manchester City, they took on Villa at home, and they came back from behind after Villa's new signing, Gabby Nunes, opened the scoring for the Claret and Blue side. But Lauren Hemp and Jill Rudd scored to get City back to winning ways. Do they have what it takes to win the WSL title, in your opinion?
I don't think so. Obviously, they brought in Miedema over the summer, but she's not been playing. So I get the attack at City is very good now. They've got Miedema, Shaw, Hemp, Rod, Kelly, who might be leaving. But they've got like a lot of like great attacking output. But they drew against Arsenal at the beginning of the season, and I don't see Chelsea losing. I know they've obviously lost Emma Hayes now as the manager, but they've got Sonia Bompasta now, and I feel like she is just as good as a manager, and it's shown with the results they've had recently. They've not lost yet, but I feel like it's going to be Chelsea's again.
Chelsea have looked so assured so far in the WSL. It's 4 games, 4 wins. It's 15 scored, 3 conceded, and game in hand. Currently sitting second, 1 point behind City at the top. And they have just looked so good so far. And looking at the top 3 as well, your top 3 scorers are 1 from each of the top 3. City, United and Chelsea both have players on 3 goals. And Chelsea looking comfortable in the WSL as things stand. Jill Roord for City got her first goal back from an ACL injury last January, which it was great to see her coming back on a rich vein of form. But over the weekend there was some controversy in the women's game. In the Chelsea-Tottenham game, it finished 5-2 to Chelsea. Again, Chelsea looking good, but there was a moment for the Chelsea keeper where there was a shot from range, and she attempted to catch it, took a step back into the goal, and one of the officials called the ball being over the line. Now, the replays are difficult. There's no camera dead in line with the goal. I don't think we'll ever be able to call whether it was fully over or not, but it was tight. It was really, really tight. Now, she didn't believe, Hannah Hampton, the Chelsea keeper, that the ball was over the line. The referee gave a goal, and then Hampton got booked for protesting that it wasn't a goal. Is it about time that we got goal line technology in the women's game?
Definitely. The women's game has grown monumentally over the past 3 years since England won the Euros in 2021, and I just feel like it's time that they get, because it's such a easy thing to implement. Just put a camera somewhat near the goal, just to see whether it goes over the line or not. And it's something that the game really needs, because otherwise we'll be talking about this for weeks on weeks, because you'll never fully know whether it is a goal or not. And again, it'll just continue with the arguments and stuff like that. So it's definitely needed.
Exactly. It's the amount of investment that we've had in the women's game of late, and it's just simple technology that's just taking the joy out of it and creating this controversy, and players getting booked for protesting what they think is genuinely right. And, you hit the nail on the head. The England women's team won the Euros. Interest in women's football went massive. And you've got women's teams now playing in their men's stadiums, selling thousands and thousands of tickets. People coming in their thousands to watch this team, and then the technology's not there to decide whether it's a goal or not. And it needs that intervention, I think, and just to help raise the level of the game that little bit further. But didn't matter to Chelsea on the day, because they still ended up coming out 5-2 winners and sitting pretty in the WSL League. As it stands, we'll take another quick break, bit of Hosier for you, and we'll come back and talk all things Championship football.
This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Indeed it is. Hosier, too sweet there on the Shock Sports Show. Just gone 6:30 now, and it's time to delve into the Championship. We've got our Championship correspondent Rachel with us in the studio.
Hello.
So, what have we got in the world of the Championship currently?
So I wanted to open up with the fact that you've obviously got Luton, who went down who came back into the Championship, unfortunately, but they had their derby against Watford, and 2 hours before kick-off, they posted. Watford posted on their Twitter saying, taken in the sights, and it was a picture of Luton not looking too great. And then after Luton went on to win 3-0, they put taking in the sights, and it was a picture of Luton winning. So I thought that was quite interesting. You shouldn't rebuke. What's that phrase?
It's a word that I can't say on the radio.
Yeah.
Something housery, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'd call it.
Yeah, no, when you put a post out like that as a media admin, you know exactly what's going to happen next. It's quite funny, but it happens a lot in Championship football.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rivalries between teams, even if they're not local derbies. There's always a good little scrap going on in the Championship.
Yeah, definitely. You got to back it up though. I thought there was statement win for Leeds against Sheffield United. They've had wins against Watford as well. They're very in form. They're looking a really, really, really strong team. Personally, I think Sunderland will fall off the wagon, and I think it could be Leeds' year.
Can we tell who the Borough fan is
in the room?
I
was going to say, yeah. But I'm not a big fan of Leeds, though, so that's a big thing to say.
It is. Leeds are looking good. They've won 3 out of the last 5. Could have been 4 out of the last 5 if Messier didn't have that absolute howler.
Absolutely shocking.
I think that is one of the probably the worst goalkeeper mistake I've ever seen.
Oh, I think so, definitely.
And I've watched a lot of Sunday League football.
Yeah.
But it was just the timing of it was so poor.
Bad. So bad.
And it's cost his team 2 points.
95th minute, wasn't it, or something
Yeah.
like that? And just, oh god, it's horrific.
It was awful. It cost his
Yeah.
team 2 points there. If come the end of the season, there's 2 points in something.
Yeah.
We know where they were lost.
Yeah. But Sunderland are now back at the top of the table. They're really in form. They're looking very strong, which pains me to say. But they are looking really good.
They are looking good. They're on 22 points level with Leeds, but Sunderland have a game in hand as it stands, and they're playing tonight, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And they're playing against Luton. They're away in the Big Smoke. So we'll see how that goes. That kicks off at 7:45.
Another standout one from this weekend was the Cardiff match. Cardiff 5-0 against Plymouth. And actually, I think Cardiff have only scored, 4 goals this whole season before that match. So they've absolutely smashed it with this one. Plymouth, obviously, Wayne Rooney, away form is shocking. Wayne Rooney's personal away form, but Plymouth's away form has been absolutely woeful. Really, really hard to watch that one. Bottom of the table, they moved themselves off. I wanted to talk about the Borough match.
Go for it. I'll let you off. Just this once.
I wanted to talk about the Borough-Bristol City match, although it wasn't favourable for me, though, because Bristol City did win 2-0 away, and those emotions were very high. Unfortunately, the manager lost his son, so that was really sad, and there was lots of tributes throughout the match to baby Theo, and Borough, unfortunately, did gift Bristol City the win, though. I think that there were some standout players from Bristol City, including Knight, but I think we were really pushed back. Personally, for Borough, I think we just can't put our chances away. Lae Lath, who was absolutely outstanding last season, at the end of the season, had 2 chances in the first half and did nothing with them. It was a really frustrating afternoon from Middlesbrough. We always create enough, but we don't perform well enough in front of goal, which is annoying being a Borough fan, because we're always favourites for playoffs, for getting promotions, and then where are we, 11th?
Do we reckon it's another mid-table Middlesbrough performance this season?
It could be another 7th place, I reckon. Could be another 7th place.
Well, looking at the Championship table, as it stands, you've got Sunderland and Leeds breaking away at the top. Burnley, Sheffield United, West Brom. And then I think a big surprise is Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah.
They were fighting for survival and got it on the last day of the season against Leicester last season, with Sammy Smodic scoring. I remember that day very well for other reasons. But they've started life this campaign really well. Currently 6th. Bit of a wobble a couple of games ago. A couple of back-to-back defeats, but they're back to winning ways, and they're playing again tonight. So hopefully they can keep it up as one of the teams local to us.
Yeah, definitely.
I think one of the big surprises for me, with a voice crack,
yeah,
has been Coventry this season. After last season just missing out on the playoffs, ended up in the FA Cup semi-final, losing out in extra time to Manchester United, and the season before that losing on penalties in the Championship playoff final, and they're now in 22nd in the Championship, in the relegation zone. It was a really important game for them last night. They were playing QPR, who were rock bottom.
Yeah.
Coventry came flying out the trap, scored within 3 minutes, and then it was all QPR for the rest of the first half. But, weird to say, Coventry defended well.
Yeah.
Which has been both of those two teams' Achilles heel this season, and QPR ended up countering in the second half, and then no one else looked like scoring. So I think both teams happy to settle for a point, hopefully looking to kickstart something going forwards. Championship games tonight, we've got Blackburn taking on West Brom, Hull taking on Burnley, Luton taking on Sunderland, Millwall taking on Plymouth, and Middlesbrough take on Sheffield United. That's a late kick-off at 8 o'clock. But it's time to move on to the local team. Salford City, who faced Swindon last night in the mighty EFL League 2. And, well, you'll be happy to know that Salford secured a win. Who would have thought? Which sees them a bit more favourably in the league now, moving up to 15th. And that's it. There's a couple of wins in the last 5 for them now. But, winning 2-1. They went 1 up after 3 minutes were played. They were pegged back in the 50th minute by Harry Smith of Swindon Town. But then in the 69th minute, John Taylor had a John Taylor massive moment and scored for them. And it was a game in which I think Salford dominated. It was, 16 shots to 6. Possession was basically even. But, more passes, a higher pass accuracy. They just looked the better side and were definitely the team deserving of coming ahead in that game. But 15th in the league, it looks like another nothingy campaign from Salford this season. I know
They've overachieved though the last couple of seasons.
12. We're only 12 game weeks in, but do you reckon it's just going to be another sort of? Oh, here we go. We're just going to finish somewhere in the bottom half because it's there's been a couple of alarm bells over recent years with the big relegation word, but they do look well set in League Two, and I feel like they're comfortable at that level.
Do you reckon they found their level? Would you say that?
As it stands, most likely. I don't, unless something changes. I don't see them going up or down. No, I feel like they are one of those teams that you look and you're like, they're a League Two team, and they will be for forever and ever. Bit like Wimbledon, or Bradford City, even in Alfie Walker if you are tuned in. But you look at teams like that, and even in it's just a difficult division, isn't it? Like we saw last season how unfair it was on Notts County. They were flying all season, didn't manage to go up. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Salford's start to the season? Sums it up perfectly. Yeah, again, it's not amazing, not awful. They are just there, aren't they? But again, results are slightly difficult for them to come by. But do you reckon they can achieve playoffs, or is it just going to be?
Yeah, it's mid-table mediocre this season, I'm afraid.
Ooh, bit of alliteration.
Yeah.
Well, do you reckon there's a rebuild project that needs to go on with Salford City?
I think in the past they've very, very quickly sacked managers, and it has worked sometimes, other times not really. So I don't know. What do you think?
Do you reckon it's time? Do you reckon they stick it out maybe for this season, and then they think, if it is another mid-table sort of finish?
I don't think mid-table's the end of the world though, considering where Salford have come from,
exactly
where they were before the takeover, before all the money that's gone into it. They have massively, massively achieved in the last couple of seasons. That's not to be underestimated at all. And I think if we have to settle for mid-table in League Two, if you'd have said that like 10 years ago, you'd be like, nah, you're joking.
100%. And the investment that has gone in the last 10 or so years, they've got a lovely stadium, lovely ground, and I personally like living in Salford for the past few years. I think it'd be great to see them go up.
Oh, it would be great for the city.
And see bigger teams. Just could you imagine a world in the future where Salford, Man United and Man City are all in the same? Well, Man City and Salford might be in the same league next season, to be fair.
Good point, yeah.
But yeah, no, it would be incredible, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing for the city, amazing for the people, and I think it's a great club.
Yeah, it's really.
Maybe not this season.
Yeah, maybe not this season, but hopefully somewhere going forward.
Yeah, definitely.
There's definitely room to build into and build with the foundations they've got. Because if they do carry on having some good seasons in the fourth tier of English football, then they can have those strong foundations to build off of. So, fingers crossed. There's something going up. So we'll play you a bit of the Pogues now, and I'm reliably informed that this is a Salford FC anthem. So. It's Dirty Old Town.
This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
There we are, the Pogues, Dirty Old Town. That one for Salford City. Written about the precincts, don't you know? It's not, don't worry. But now we're going to have a look at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.
They are in Glasgow.
Is that this year? Next
No,
year?
next year.
Of
They're in
course, we're at the end of
Glasgow.
the year. It's October, isn't it?
2026.
I'm
yeah.
losing track of time.
Yes, they are in Glasgow next year, but Glasgow actually hosted the games 12 years ago. So 2014, and that was meant to be the most successful games. But for those games in 2014, they had a budget of 543 million. But for the estimated budget for these ones, it's going to be 114. And that is because the games is going to go down to 10 events, right? So you're going to have the athletics, para-athletics, the swimming, artistic gymnastics, track cycling, netball, weightlifting, boxing, judo, bowls, and 3x3 basketball, 3x3 wheelchair basketball. So thoughts on the events that are in there? What do we think?
That's it.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Do you know, I remember the 2014 games in Glasgow. My sister and Gran went up to watch them.
Yeah.
And I was massive on badminton at the time and used to play all the time. And they brought me back a Glasgow Commonwealth Games t-shirt, badminton, like special one.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is sick. But to hear like not even that is
No,
making
insane.
the Commonwealth Games sport.
Yeah.
And that is like
There's
a
not even going to be
sport.
a Olympic. There's not Olympic, but there's not even going to be a athletes' village. There's not going to be an opening, closing ceremony. Like it's massively, massively being scaled back. But is that not a good thing though? Because then maybe it means other countries can then host. It's not so elitist with the countries that can host it.
Yeah. It's turning more into like a world championship format sort of event instead of being this big extra sort of event that used to be a close second to the Olympics. Like
definitely.
it was like in between the 4 years of the Olympics,
That's
I've got
great.
the Commonwealth Games to watch. Oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's turning more into something that is targeted more for a niche audience.
Very niche.
Who are just fans of those specific sports that will take time out of their day to watch them.
Yeah. Well, there was also why Glasgow has had to hold it is because Victoria dropped out in July of last year, and that was after the estimated cost was going to be 3 billion. That is insane amount of money to spend on a Commonwealth Games, not even an Olympics, a Commonwealth Games. So Victoria withdrew it, and Glasgow have just had to step up, really. But it's going to be a massively scaled back version. And are the Olympics next? Do we think that? Or do we think...
Do you know what? I've been thinking this and having this argument for quite some time that the Olympics has definitely lost its charm of late.
Yeah.
I think you go back to 2008 Beijing and you had like Usain Bolt smashing world records and he was like a superstar everywhere afterwards. And then you go to London 2012. This country went mental for the Olympics.
I remember when the torch came through. And
it came through everyone's little town and village. And everyone's like there getting pictures with it. And that it
rained
just
all summer.
It was such a good time to be alive. Everyone was here for the Olympics and we treated all the GB athletes like they were superheroes. And we watched every event so intently. And then it went to Brazil. And it just kind of fell away from there onwards. And don't get me wrong, I loved watching the Olympics this summer.
Yeah, so did I.
It's great just chucking telly on and I'm like, oh, I'm watching some people row a boat now, or I'm watching someone go down a hill in a canoe. This is incredible, but it does feel like it's starting to lose its charm, and it's quite upsetting.
It's a shame, though. That's a massive shame.
Because there is less and less countries offering to go out there and host the Olympics now, as well as the Commonwealth
How expensive it
Games.
is, though. How many countries can afford that? And it's the taxpayers having to pay for the thing, and it's like, well, people aren't that bothered.
Especially like the Commonwealth Games, with it being a budget reduced by almost 5 times from 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But the cost of living skyrocketing. It's complete opposites, and it almost makes sense that nobody wants to host these events anymore.
Yeah. No. Well, there was also that it's mainly been when the Commonwealth's been hosted. It's mainly either Britain, Australia, and actually it was meant to be in an African city for the first time, but then that got stripped. It was meant to be in Durban, and that was stripped from them in 2017 because of money troubles. So again, are we looking at where it's literally only going to be a set amount of countries that can host these games, and clearly Australia didn't want to do it. It's too expensive. Does it just become a Glasgow host it every year? I think, is it so good? Or does it just become a, let's stop this?
I think it's great that Glasgow have come and almost saved
to
the
the
day.
rescue.
Because they've got the infrastructure in the city already from the last time that they hosted, and it'll probably want, your lick of paint, a bit of doing up, but it'll look fine and it'll do the job.
Yeah.
But when you look at Australia not wanting to host it, and they're not a small country, and they've not got a small GDP by any margin.
No, definitely not.
They're quite a high income, high value country, and when they're turning down the opportunity to host the Commonwealth Games, it does ring alarm bells in my head. Quite a few people said that, oh, hang on a minute, maybe this event isn't all it's cracked up to be, and maybe it's not great, is it?
Do you think without like an opening and closing ceremony, it literally is just like a World Championships? It just is like a normal sort of. It just becomes a bit ordinary, I think.
Yeah, it's like. I could go to the local running track on a Saturday. There could be a county meeting going on. There could be some people running around the track, throwing things, and I could be like, oh, this could be the Commonwealth Games in a few years' time. Yeah. It's the opening ceremony, the whole like ceremonial side of it that made it different, and the fact that they're getting rid of those, it makes it normal.
It does,
which is not what it wants to be.
No, it doesn't want to be like that at all. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is a big shame, but it's great that the Commonwealth Games are coming back to
100%.
the British Isles.
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully the British public can go to Glasgow and watch these games, because, again, live sport, it's incredible, isn't it?
You can't beat it.
You can't beat live sport, and the live sport atmosphere is brilliant. Even though there's less events, but is there even no diving?
Well, no, I don't think so.
Just swimming.
It's just swimming.
You see, that
swimming and power swimming.
That really surprised me, because as a nation we have been
we love the
so
diving.
great in the in diving for many a moon, and especially with Tom Daly, and he's become one of those superstars.
Treasure, isn't
he's become a national treasure because of that 2008, 2012 era of Olympians where they did become megastars, but.
I've just got something that the First Minister of Scotland said, and he said, while Glasgow will look quite differently to previous games, we can and we must use this as an opportunity to work collaboratively to ensure that this new concept brings a strong and sustainable future for the Games. So they are focusing on the sustainability of it.
Yes, and obviously moving into 26 when it'll be hosted, that is got to be one of the massive standpoints, and it's great that they are taking that approach as well, because, it's our planet, we've got to look after it come the end of the day, because as of right now, there's no plan B. So, good on them for that, and hopefully it should be a good event. Fingers are crossed anyways.
Definitely.
Live sport, it's absolutely amazing, and there'll be loads of live sport going on for the rest of this week and over the weekend. If you can get yourself to any games, then go for it. But that's all we've got time for this week on Shock Sport. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Liam and Rachel for joining me, and hopefully Jodie will be back next week to talk all things sport. We'll see you out with a bit of One Republic and Counting Stars. See you next week, guys.